It's really great. It's a website, so you don't have to download it. Excuse me, energy drink burp. This is the Top Contractor. We burp energy drink.
Without it.
So
welcome to the Top Contractor Podcast, the show that highlights the remarkable individuals who are shaping the construction industry and pushing its boundaries with engaging interviews, expert discussions, and real-world stories of success. I'm Bill Reiman, your broker builder. I'm here with my co-host,
Nate Swink. What's up, Billy?
What's
Coming
up,
to
Nate?
you live. It's late on the East Coast.
Yeah, making me sit here and wait as you casually stroll into your home office and we record this.
Well, you know what they say. Patience is a virtue.
You know, I didn't just have I didn't just have a baby, and still haven't eaten dinner, but hey, we're good.
What was that? Sponsored by First Form? You have a meat snack or what?
Yeah, a meat stick. First Form meat stick. Highly recommend those bad boys.
There you go.
This flavor of tonight was the Cajun flavor.
Ooh.
Cajun style. A little spice on it.
Damn. Got to get you some of that.
Yeah, great product, especially while you're patiently waiting for Nate to show up to the podcast. Anyway, we got Nate and I got good stuff for y'all today. But before we get started, Nate, what's this show all about?
All right, guys. So we got 3 different style of episodes on this show. 1 is a deep dive into a specific topic. 2 is we bring on an expert and interview them. 3 is construction news and how it applies to you. And I just realized, I think I say those in a different order every episode.
Yeah, I think so too. I still don't have the initial part memorized either. I don't know if I'll ever memorize that. So we're good. Doesn't matter. As long as they get the point. And take the time, as you guys know too, like, share, comment, subscribe goes a long way. Nate and I are doing this for free, doing it on our own time to try and help educate all of you guys, and just trying to give as much as possible to you guys, as much information. So appreciate y'all. Yes,
sir.
But Nate, what are we talking about today? What are we diving into? A little education.
Let's get into it. So we've got a nice boring topic for you on systems. Yes. Something that is not sexy at all, but will make your business scale like crazy and make your service and your experience more consistent. So systems. Let's get cracking with the systems.
Systems and processes. We can make this sexy. We can make it sound fun, huh?
It is actually pretty fun when you start building them out, right? It takes a lot of creativity from your team and from you, and it's like, get everybody in the room and try to figure out what works.
Yeah, and Nate and I will kind of touch on some personal experiences that we are having with our companies, because we like to kind of relate to you guys. Hopefully that helps as we're building our companies ourselves too. But first thing I think that goes into systems is figuring out what you need, kind of assessing the situation, figuring out where there's inefficiencies, bottlenecks, areas that your company's lacking in, with as far as processes and so on. So kind of just figuring out, okay, what is wrong? What can we make better? And I think a lot of construction companies struggle with that too, because they don't know where to go with it, or they just kind of stuck in old school ways. Or what do you think on that, Nate?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with this one, right? We're all human, and none of us like to hear you suck, or this sucks, or this is bad. But that's where you got to start, right? Ask your clients, ask your employees, right? When I have PMs or sales guys working on things, I'll go to that client as well and say, hey, how's my guy doing? How can we improve? How can he improve? Because they're going to tell me something different than they'll tell them as the owner. So, and that actually goes a long ways. People might think, oh, well, that's embarrassing. I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm doing. Well, guess what? it's business. You're always evolving. So by asking your client that, one, you're showing them that you really care, and two, it's not embarrassing at all, man. You got to constantly be growing and evolving, and the only way to do that is by getting a lot of good feedback and getting the truth, getting told, hey, man, we love working with you guys. Your communication's good, but the speed isn't there, or the quality could be a little better, or your costs are too high, or whatever it is. And then you try to look, you can't appease everybody, but do the best you can to get your product really dialed in.
No, I can't agree more. We actually just recently I do the exact same thing, touching on that topic and going around asking your employees like what can we do better? How can we help you too? I actually have I had an employee, the superintendent, that was looking super stressed, looking like, just every day like you got, the crap beat out of him, and just like, just drained, he just looked super drained. And I'm like, what is wrong, man? Like, one day I pulled him aside. I was like, what is wrong? And he's like, we got all these freaking jobs, and it's like, you're supposed to be excited about that. It's a lot of work and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I get it. And instead of being like, you should be happy, we got a bunch of jobs, this and that, I was like, okay, so what's stressing you out about it? He goes, I don't know, man. I feel like there's just no process. I feel like there's no, we don't have things like, there isn't something like written out that we should be doing. We're kind of all over the place. In our company, we've kind of been that way, since family owned business. My dad had it that way. We didn't have that many employees, and now we got all these different employees because we're bigger, and we're having to. Now it was a reality check that we have to kind of implement these things, and
Mm-hmm.
start putting in these systems. And I was like, okay, what can I do to help you? And he's like, let's come up with some kind of process. And I was like, all right, we're gonna set up a meeting, which we did. We set up the meeting with the superintendent, project managers, my brother, myself. My sister was there, who does a lot of the internal like permitting stuff like that, and kind of just had that discussion of all right, let's make a list, what we need to knock out on this certain house, dates that we're going to do it. And we started there using the software that we did, but we never utilized this part of the software. So when it was all said and done, and after this has happened, we just had a recent meeting on this past Friday about it. And we're just checking in, and they've literally knocked out all the tasks up to the point where they're supposed to be. Before, it
Nice.
would have been a cluster, everybody would have been scrambling, but having that organization, creating that system, oh man, what a relief. Like, and so
Yeah, for
now
sure.
it's like building on that too. So what you said about like going to your employees, I think a lot of people have issues with like they don't do that. You need to do that, because that was one thing that I did as well.
Yep. Yeah, man. I think one quick point about systems to be really clear on, because there's nuance to this, and the only way you learn the nuance is by doing it, by scaling your company, by making a system and then growing, and then you're like, wait, that system doesn't work, we need to change it. So, you know, personally, I think if you're running a specialty construction company, like a subcontractor, if you would, right? Framing, concrete, asphalt, welding, whatever, I think you can easily get to 4 to 5 million before you need a ton of systems. Like, I wouldn't go crazy making all these systems when you're only doing 1 million, because the odds are that you'll have to redo all that work when you get to 4 or 5. So yeah, you need systems, but when you get up to 4 or 5 million, that's when you really need them, because you will not really get past that without it being a cluster F if you don't have systems. Would you agree with that, Bill? Or
Yeah, because I think you need to identify kind of the systems that you really need at that moment too,
yeah,
and kind of look around, see, okay, you don't need to like you just said, if you're $1 million company, you're more than likely not going to have as many employees, you're not going to have as much going on, you're not going to need as much
yeah,
system, because you're just going to confuse people. It's going to be too much all at once. But
exactly, yeah,
over time, like what I just said for like that one house doing that. And now we actually had Brian Hess come on and speak to like my team this past Monday, or no, the Monday, but last Monday. And because I wanted him to kind of come from a different perspective, come from him instead of me. Basically, I felt like a broken record talking about software, utilizing it, and so on. So I had him talk to the team about it and the importance of it. So after that, it kind of stuck too. We're like, and I was like, see, we got to build on that little thing that we did with that one house. Now let's build it on all of them. But how we're
Yep.
going to do it is this, and I'm going to be the one to do it. That's one thing Brian told me to do. He's like, Bill, you're going to have, as the leader of the company, you're going to have to be the one to implement it because
Yep.
nobody else
Exactly.
is. And he goes, eventually, you do it so much, they're going to be like, why are you doing it? We can just do it. It's way easier for us
Yep.
because your superintendents and everybody are going to be like, and he used like a taking out the trash example, like at his
Yeah. One
office
one
too.
thing that Ed Milet says is things are caught, not taught.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's the biggest thing. Like people will learn faster by watching you and then emulating what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
than you sitting there doing nothing, trying to say, do this, do this, do this. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, to hit on the systems, right? I'll probably get some people that disagree with me, but I know that those people aren't scaling their companies as quick as we are. Like, don't try to over systematize your business when you're in a lower revenue because it will completely change when you're at a higher revenue level. So if you're in the 1 to 5 million range or 1 to 3, whatever, focus on scaling as fast as you can. And that in itself will create problems. And you'll be like, oh, I need a system here. I need one here. I need one here. But if you try to think of all of it, like, oh, I'm at 2 million. I don't want to get to 5 until I have my systems down. Dude, you don't know what systems you're going to need at 5 million because you ain't been there yet. So don't get too caught up in it. Systems are very important, but don't let them stop you from growing unless it's a total cluster and you're losing money. Then obviously slow down. But, it's a good balance, right? Don't contemplate
Mm-hmm.
and spend too much time worrying about it. It'll make sense when you get there, right? If you have a good pulse on the business, you'll see I'm losing money here. I'm losing traction here. We got to fix this, right? And that's when you get all your team. Do not do it yourself. Get your team in your conference room, have them figure out the problem and present it to you. And then you say, okay, maybe we tweak here, but they need to own the problem and they need to own the solution. That helps with implementation because if you're trying to implement something and it's only your idea, it's hard to implement. If you're trying to implement something and it's everybody's idea, it's easier to implement because they're behind it. Because if it doesn't work, they look bad.
Mm-hmm.
That
No,
was
and what
fire.
you
Damn,
what
the Jocko kicking in.
hey, there he is, sponsored by Jocko and First Form today. But no, man, going off of what you just said though, too, it's like going back to the kind of the you're doing $1 million and you're doing $3 million or whatever. You got to have, and you want to drive the revenue, you want to drive the leads too. You got to have the systems to do that as well. So start building those systems that's going to drive you more customers. Eventually those more of those customers, you're going to need more systems for that as well to maintain, keep them happy, communicate better. There's a lot of softwares out for that too. Nate and I will talk about some of the stuff we're using as well, because I'm sure a lot of you are listening out there being like, what do you guys do? You're talking about all these systems, I don't know where to go. Well, we'll tell you what we're using in a little bit here. But there's each and every step. It's how you develop it. What do I need? Where am I going to go next? How am I going to do it next? So on and so on. So what Nate just said, don't rush into it and kind of identify where you need to go before you then implement that, then go to the next thing and do that. And that's kind of what we're doing too. I mean, we're a big company now and we're growing. Like Nate is a big company and he's growing. So now we're identifying, okay, we can communicate better utilizing this technology. We can manage jobs better in the schedule, and our superintendents can know how to build a house based off this schedule. We can assign tasks to them too. There's so many things in these softwares that we're using that we weren't before because we didn't really need them. But now we're at that point where we need them, and I even tell my employees too. I go, if there's something you come across or you hear about or software that you've used in the past or whatever, let me know. We'll look at it, and if it's good and it's going to help you and it's going to help you do your job more efficiently and better and help the client overall, I'm all for it. We'll pay for it. So, we got the funds to
Let me
do it.
hit that, bro. That's a big one right there. Is as a owner, what Bill just said, if they're coming to you with ideas that may cost money, if you don't listen, if you squash their idea just because, oh well, that software costs $1,000 a year,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, dude, don't be a cheap ass, because that $1,000, not only did it just cost you in efficiency, it also just cost you in leadership capital, which you just lost from that person because they went out of their way, they went the extra mile, and then you just shit on them and said, no, we're not going to implement that, it's too expensive or whatever. So be careful how you go about that as well. You want these people to help scale your business, so encourage them and implement what they're saying and say, hey, that's a good idea, let's do it. And then
Yeah.
guess what? Then they'll give you more good ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just had an employee going off with that a little bit more, and we just had one of the girls that works in our office. I was talking to her about the software we use, and I'm like, well, you can utilize it and do this and attach this to it this way and blah blah blah. And she was kind of like, well, we have Google Drive. If I clean that up, it'll be a lot easier to access, save the bids because everybody emails the bids. We can save it, organize it better to where it's more efficient, where we don't really have to use CoConstruct. We use CoConstruct. That's what it's called. It's by BuilderTrend, but we don't really have to use that where everything's kind of slammed in there. It takes a lot more time to upload and kind of go through it versus Google Drive. We got it all cleaned up, super easy to go to those files. Everybody has it on their iPads and phones out in the field. And so she's reorganizing that. So I said, you know
Nice.
what? I'm not going to force you to do the co-construct thing. Whatever you think is more efficient and easier on your end, that's going to help drive everybody out in the field too and make the process better. I'm all for it. So whatever's best for you, because I don't want to stress you out because she's got a big job. So it's like you just said, listen to your employees. And as long as they're doing things to help the company and make it better and more efficient, not only for themselves, but for the business overall, I mean, you can't complain as an owner. You can't be Mr. I'm the owner, you gotta listen to me type person. It's let
Yeah.
let
You
let your people do. Yeah.
can, but you'll be stuck with a couple $1 million business at best, and you'll
Yeah.
be stressed all the time because you'll be the only one pushing the vision.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, I've done that. And that's why I stayed at 2 million for 3 years or whatever, and now I'm doubling in 1 year. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what a
Yeah.
waste of time that was. Shit. I
But
was like,
you're still young and you got a long way to go still too, Nate. So
right?
hey,
Yeah, it's always
another life business.
beneficial. It's always beneficial to pull your head out of your ass as quick as possible.
Very true. Very true. Um, talk about some of the softwares you're using, man. Because I mean, I just brought up CoConstruct. There's BuilderTrend. There's ProCure, I think it's called, and then I mean, there's so many construction softwares out there. CoConstruct's a little more user friendly for the custom home builder. That's why we chose it. There's some stuff that's lagging on there that I don't like. That they're like, oh, if you get BuilderTrend, then you can have access to that. But BuilderTrend's a little more commercial. I mean, a
Hmm.
lot of high-end custom home builders use it too. But
Yeah.
what are some of the softwares you're using for the listener, just so give them some ideas?
So for like project management, we use Basecamp, and
Okay.
then for estimating, we use another software which actually is made for landscape and hardscape contractors, and we modified it for steel just because I really like how the software, it helps you build out your yearly forecasted overhead. So that feature in it we use so much, so I just stuck with that. It works really good. That's called LMN, Landscape Management Network, and we use it for structural steel, man. Works great, and it's pretty inexpensive. And then we also use Mark 8 just to track our proposals and things. We're still fine tuning things, but like I said, I'm not gonna spend. The other thing with softwares is I know people, because I did this too. You think, oh, it's so important. You spend all this time messing around with it. If you just focus on growing your business and driving sales, just pick a software and it'll work itself out. Don't spend so much time trying to make it perfect, because all you're doing is wasting time when you should be focusing on selling more jobs. I know guys who are doing less than $1 million, one of our subs, and they've switched like 4 different softwares, spending all this time setting it up. Meanwhile, he tells me he's going to give me a bid on Monday morning, and I don't get it till Tuesday afternoon. I'm like, hey, dude, while you're working on messing around with all these softwares, you're losing customers and pissing people off. So you might want to just throw that to the side for now, get the basics going, and then come back and mess with your software. So there's a lot to it. Don't overthink. Just get it done.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's like I talked about too, just finding what works best for you, what's easiest for your team, and not, like Nate just said, not overthinking it. I mean, there's going to be, there's there's software out there for everything now. You want to make it as user friendly as possible for your team, because you're going to have to train your team on it too. So you better know how to do it. And the more hardcore that thing is, the harder and longer it's going to take to train. Go ahead.
We also use the crap out of Smart Sheets. If anybody knows what Smart Sheets is or doesn't, whatever, look it up. It's amazing the features we use on there. We've built out some really insane profit tracking, job profit tracking systems in there. All sorts of, our calendar is in there. So we love that. And then another one that I got turned on to by Lillian from K&L Industries. Shout out to her. It's called Suite Process. So systems, right? Systems, and then there's something else called SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. So an SOP is a system as well. A little bit, I guess they're slightly different from each other. System is more high level. SOP is more like specifically, how do I do a job startup on a new project? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, right? And Suite Process has a great format on building that out, because essentially all your SOPs and all your systems, to some degree, I should be able to have Bill come into my company, him not knowing, or even whatever, a guy off the street, a guy that worked at 7-Eleven who's somewhat competent. No offense to anyone who's worked at 7-Eleven, but I can. Oh my, we're gonna get canceled. No, that's good.
Everybody's getting canceled these days. So
all right, so now you should be able to hand them a set of SOPs or give them access to them, and them very quickly, without asking you any questions at all, understand them and know how to set that stuff up. That's how we do the test for it, right? We'll have someone else who didn't write the SOP. Hey, can you do this? Can you enter a new job? And if they struggle with it, they'll be like, well, I got to number 4, but number 5 doesn't make sense. That's our problem. We need to fix step 5. Right? So that's in a nutshell.
That's almost like creating a systems and processes manual, but you're doing it through using the technology, correct? So for each position, you're creating a manual for it too, which is something that, see, once again, we're building our businesses as you guys are listening to this too. We're a bigger company. We have more employees, and we need to implement system and process manuals.
Yeah.
Ourselves. So that's something
Suite Process is, and Suite Process is all digital, and it's really great. It's a website, so you don't have to download it. Excuse me, energy drink burp. This is the top contractor. We burp energy drink. So, what's cool about Suite Process, I'll just highlight it real quick, but you can make step 1, 2, 3, 4, You can quickly attach screenshots to it. It's very convenient. And then if when you're doing a SOP or a process, you're going to have step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and then you're going to realize, oh, I should switch 2 and 1. Boom. And this allows you just to click it and drag it and move it up or move it wherever, right? So it's very clean. It looks real sexy and clean. So check it out. Sweet, SWEET process. And that's what that one is. We use that to write all of our SOPs. And as far as like, okay, SOPs, how far in the weeds should I get? Okay, once again, if you're a small company, small being like under 3 million, then you don't need a ton of them. But as you grow, as you have more people, you do. We have ones that are how to enter a AR or AP into QuickBooks. Here's how you do it, right? How to do the filing. Here's how you file papers that need to get filed. Here's how you enter a new job. Here's how, this is even nitty gritty. Like Lillian has 100 of these on Sweet Process. Here's what to do if you get in a car accident in a company vehicle. Step by step. The only thing I thought about that is like, are they really going to remember the process after they just got in a car accident? But I guess they could call Lillian and she could say, hey, I just emailed you the process. Make sure you follow it. You know, as long as they're okay. It's not like they're like, you know.
My next broken systems and processes system. What is it? What is it?
But for real, is there a system for every little thing? For the most part, so you can be consistent. K&L, I think they're doing like 20 to 25, 30 million. Okay. So they have a lot of little nitty gritty processes because they got 50 people. Mm-hmm. So I'm not telling everybody you need all these little ones, but eventually you will, because you'll have multiple office admins and all these things, and they should be able to run the play without you.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that too. I mean, that's something I've been looking for because it's been hard to get each individual position to write their system and process too, and kind of write it out for the next person. I mean, one strategy I have implemented, which I'm still waiting on, is for each employee to kind of do 50 things, 50 tasks that they do throughout throughout a certain amount of time. They got to be detailed and then make it how they can do it better too. So that not only will make them write the tasks that they're doing, but they will also make it write out, okay, I can do it better this way. Well, okay, now you're writing out something, a task that you have to do within your position, and you're making it better for the next person, and then implement that into your system and process too. So that was one thing I thought, and give them a reward once they give me the 50 if they're good. I mean, it can't be no BS where it's like,
no BS. You guys better be listening to Bill.
Yeah, no BS. You ain't getting no reward for telling me how to empty the trash can or something like that. But
I'll give you 50. What's the reward?
A little bit of money, increase
a little
in the money.
Jangle.
Maybe. Yeah, a little jangle too. So you're not in my company, Nate. So your 50 don't count.
Plus, well, I'll give you 150 if you buy me a Rolex. How about that?
You can start out by improving on your time of showing up.
Here we go, folks.
Podcast.
There we go. It's like the cot. It's like the what? Oh, the pot. It's like the pot calling the kettle black. Jeez, I had to think about that there. That almost took a turn with the pot and the black pot and the who knows.
That could have got real weird right there. But anyway, no, I mean, you gotta clearly define the processes, figure that out, talk to them with your employees, use different softwares. Technology is key. I mean, it's your friend. Utilize as much technology as possible too. The more you can get off of paper, the more you're going to be able to have in front of you and not worry about losing it too. I mean, we had our guys driving around for a while with yellow notepads. I hate those things. Now we're making them put all the job task, everything, daily log on what they're doing into our software, which a lot of softwares offer that too.
Nice.
Our warranty girl, she came from another builder, actually a huge builder, one of the largest in the area. And she was talking about their warranty software. and how great it was, how she can take her iPad and take pictures of stuff. The customer and clients see it. It's very detailed, and these are when we close on the house, and they all have record of it. She can contact subcontractors through it to fix it, get all the schedule on there, which CoConstruct kind of offers that, but it's very simplified. Hers is a lot more detailed, so we might be implementing that just because the more you can get out to the customer, the more the customer sees. And I'm one of the ones I used to believe, the less the customer sees the better, so on in a lot of ways. But I'm realizing more and more, the more access you give to them, the better. The more they leave you alone. They don't call you because they're seeing everything that is going on. And we're doing more and more of that by implementing their financials into these softwares, of what they're spending, what's coming, doing the
That's
schedule,
awesome, dude.
showing them
That's
this.
cool.
Yeah, showing them the schedule too of actual construction, the days that it usually takes on average to get the certain subcontractors there. We're building these things as we speak too. Selections, all these different things, pictures every week of their house. We're going to buy a 360 camera so they can kind of walk through room to room and see what's going on as well. Whether I'm doing video walkthroughs on YouTube, drone shots, just trying to get as much information and build these systems out to where the client, because majority of the clients we build for are not here year round. They're 6 months out of the year. These are second homeowners, so second or third homes that we're building for these people. So they want to know what is going on because they're spending millions of dollars on these houses. So how can we make that clear? And we can job log every day and say, hey, the electrician was there today. They have about 4 days left to finish their finals, blah, blah, blah. And then
Nice.
this will be the next stage. So that's kind of the stuff we're doing to kind of make it. But communication, guys, can't speak enough on it. Nate and I talk about it all the time. The more you communicate, build those systems. It'll benefit you. It'll benefit your clients. It'll go a long way.
Yeah, let's hit on a couple different things real quick. So, one of the areas, once you build a new system, the real crucial part as well is rolling it out to your team and training them
Mm-hmm.
on it. This is a spot where, as business owners, man, we get in a rush. We're like, cool, we made it. Boom, let's go on to the next thing, right? But this is the part that you got to take some time, train, implement it, and then make sure that the people really know what it is and really understand how it's helping them. Because if you just quickly implement it,
Mm.
oftentimes it'll stick and then it just falls right off. And then it's like, dude, what happened? So, implementation, really strategic. Make sure that you're fronting that up. Or if you're a larger company, then have your lead or your ops guy, head it up. And then also kind of meet weekly or as much as you need to check in on that system. Hey, is this working how we thought it would work? Or is this just ended up being a big waste of time? And sometimes it is just a big waste of time. And it's like, no, this isn't it at all. This makes the problem worse. We're over communicating, where people are touching things way too many times, right? I have to do it, then Bill has to do it, then someone else has to do it. It's like, let's come back to the table and let's figure this out. So it's not a one and done deal. It's kind of never over, actually. Systems, when you're growing your business, it's kind of a thought that you should always have in your head. Oh, that should be a system. That should be a system right there. If someone has to ask you a lot of questions, then it's like, oh, they shouldn't have to ask me that question. There should be a SOP or a system on that so that they know where to get the question answered or whatever, right? So,
No, I like that. I mean, that's one thing too. I 100% agree with you. Is always kind of telling the team, always kind of being like, "This is why we need this. This is why we're putting this into action. This is how it's going to help you too." I've made it a point in our Monday meetings to do it every single Monday meeting now, and just keep reiterating it. Like, hey, this is going to help you do this. It's going to take the stress off of you. It's gonna help us, the girls in the office, And you guys out in the field too, for the customers to stop calling and being like, when's this happening? What's going to go on with this? What selection did I make here? So, constantly telling them, like you just said, is it's so clutch, because it's just, they
Ooh,
will, you do it once.
clutch.
Yeah, you like
Damn.
that?
Now you sounding like you're young. That's real clutch.
That is clutch. With that being said, another great episode, Nate. Everybody like, share, comment, subscribe. Take some time to review it. Goes a long way. We really appreciate you. See you on the next one.